the start of the show, Angel, the protagonist, finds himself slumped at a bar in downtown Los Angeles. He drowsily talks about a girl he still misses. His brooding is interrupted when he notices 3 mysterious men leaving the bar with 2 young girls. He then follows them quietly into a dark alley, where it is revealed that the men are actually vampires. Just as they are about to bite the girls and quench their bloodthirst, Angel knocks them out from behind. He then uses his hidden stake bracers to kill the vampires and dust their black, demonic souls into thin air. One of the girls, who is bleeding from a head wound, thanks Angel for saving them. When he turns around, we see he has also transformed into a vampire. Instead of accepting their gratitude, Angel snaps at them to leave immediately. In the next scene, Angel returns to his new home, a basement apartment tucked beneath a small office. Inside, he finds an Irishman named Doyle waiting for him. Doyle introduces himself as a half-human, half-demon, and wastes no time diving into Angel's story. He recounts Angel's dark past, his recent painful split from his girlfriend Buffy, the vampire slayer, and his decision to start over in Lao. We learn that Angel was once the most feared vampire on Earth, responsible for countless deaths of innocent people. His reign of terror came to an end when he was cursed by the gypsies, who sought to punish him for his sins. This curse restored his human soul, compelling him to confront the weight of his past actions and set him on a path toward redemption. His life took a significant turn when he met Buffy, and they soon fell deeply in love. Angel's newfound happiness was so profound that it awakened his inner demons. This ultimately led him to break up with Buffy to protect her from the darkness within him. Doyle warns that Angel's isolation and recent encounter with human blood are dangerous signs that he could slip back into his old ways. He then explains his role as a messenger for someone he only refers to as the powers that be. Doyle further explains that he sees visions of people who need Angel's help. He then hands Angel a slip of paper with the name of a young woman, Tina. When Angel asks why she needs him, Doyle tells him that figuring it out is his first task. The following day, Angel tracks down Tina at her workplace and manages to convince her to meet him after her shift. When she shows up by his car, she suddenly pulls a pepper spray out of her purse. Tina then accuses him of working for someone named Russell Winters. Angel, however, manages to calm her down and persuade her to let him drive her to the fabulous Hollywood party she's heading to. At the party, Angel unexpectedly runs into an old friend, Cordelia Chase. She boasts about her successful acting career and claims she's living in a luxurious Malibu condo. It turns out Cordelia knows about his vampire identity. Shortly after, Tina returns to Angel, visibly shaken and distressed. She explains that a man named Stacy has been harassing her, and now she's finally ready to leave the party. As they make their way toward the parking lot, they are suddenly attacked by Stacy and his gang of thugs. They then manage to lock Angel inside the elevator and kidnap Tina. However, our hero outsmarts them with his exceptional fighting skills and rescues Tina to his apartment. Meanwhile, Cordelia returns to her shabby apartment and eats scraps of food she smuggled from the party. Turns out, her earlier boast about having a successful acting career is far from the truth. In reality, she is struggling to make ends meet. Back at Angel's place, Tina notices the note Doyle gave him with her name and workplace on it. She is now convinced that Angel has been working for Russell all along. As she panics and runs, Angel tries to stop her at the doorstep. Just then, the sunlight hits his hand, burning him and causing him to vamp out instinctively. Terrified, Tina flees the building and returns to her apartment. She starts packing her luggage in an attempt to leave the city. Unfortunately, Russell finds her and promises to not harm her. At first, Tina lets herself be comforted in his arms, but Russell soon reveals his true nature. He vamps out and bites her on the neck. By the time Angel arrives, it's too late to save her. The scene shifts to Russell's apartment, where he meets with Lindsay McDonald, a young lawyer from Wolfram and Hart Law Firm. They discuss an alibi to cover up Tina's death. During their meeting, Russell orders Lindsay to bring him Cordelia, his next chosen victim. Determined to avenge Tina, Angel tracks down Stacy and forces him to reveal where Russell can be found. Meanwhile, a woman calls Cordelia and lures her into a limousine by claiming that an investor named Russell Winters is on the lookout for rising talents like her. Excited by the opportunity, Cordelia agrees and soon arrives at Russell's grand mansion. There, she opens up about her life to him and pours out her struggles. However, as she looks around, she notices the heavy drapes and lack of mirrors and quickly puts the pieces together. She finally realizes that Russell is a vampire. Once the truth is out, Russell skips the formalities and lunges for her. Just as he vamps out, Cordelia manages to dodge and heads for the door. Thankfully, Angel, who has climbed up the estate walls, cuts the power by destroying a junction box. He then bursts in, taking several bullets from Russell's guards. Next, he picks Cordelia up and jumps over the railing. Landing safely, Angel and Cordelia escape outside, where Doyle crashes his car through the front gate to save them. With gunfire still ringing through the air, they all jump into the car, and Doyle starts the engine to speed away. The next day, Angel walks into the top floor conference room of Russell Winters Enterprises. He interrupts a meeting between Russell, Lindsay, and other Wolfram and Hart representatives. When Russell arrogantly claims he can do whatever he wants in Los Angeles, Angel pointedly asks if he can fly. Without waiting for a response, Angel kicks him through the floor-to-ceiling window. The evil vampire plunges into direct sunlight, bursts into flames, and disintegrates into dust mid-air. Back at Angel's apartment, Cordelia suggests they make their partnership official by putting up a sign and going into business together. When Angel and Doyle agree, Cordelia prints business cards for their new business firm, Angel Investigations. Just then, Doyle is struck by a sudden vision of a nightclub named Oblique. However, he doesn't see any name or person who needs help. Regardless, the trio believes someone might be in danger, so they head for the club. At the club, we see a young woman named Sharon sitting alone and being watched by a man named Kevin. He approaches her, and they soon hit it off. Moments before the Angel Investigations team arrives, Kevin and Sharon decide to leave the club together. Arriving at the club, the Angel Investigations team try to gather information at the bar but get nowhere. Just then, a woman named Kate approaches Angel, asking if he's alright. The two then awkwardly strike up a conversation. Despite their initial hesitance, they find common ground and form what they both believe to be a genuine connection. The next morning, Sharon, who spent the night with Kevin, gets dressed while his lifeless body lies in a pool of blood on the bed. Back at the Angel Investigations office, the team dives into research, focusing on past incidents at Oblique. They uncover two gruesome cases, a mutilated woman and an eviscerated man, both last seen at the club. Doyle and Cordelia then go through demon lore and narrow down potential suspects linked to such killings. Meanwhile, Angel revisits the club to gather more information. Arriving at the club, he speaks with the bartender and learns that Kevin disappeared after leaving with Sharon. Piecing together the clues, Angel tracks Sharon to her home, determined to stop her before another victim falls prey. Sadly, he arrives at her apartment to find her dead and a guy named Neil preparing to flee the scene. Turns out that Sharon was possessed by a parasite that changes its host frequently until it finds the right match. The parasite killed her as it no longer needs her body and has now transferred into a new host that is none other than Neil. A violent fight soon ensues between Angel and the parasitic Neil, but the latter manages to escape. As Angel tries to leave the scene, Kate arrives drawing a gun and revealing that she is an LAPD detective. Given the situation, she falsely believes that Angel is the murderer and attempts to arrest him. Angel, however, breaks free and leaps through the third-story window to escape. Meanwhile, the parasitic Neil returns to Oblique in search of another host. At dawn, Angel retreats to Cordelia's apartment and tasks her and Doyle with researching eviscerating burrowers. These are demons that transfer from body to body in an endless quest for the perfect host. They discover that the demon is extremely strong like the vampires, but can be killed with fire. That night, Kate goes to Oblique and asks the bartender to let her know when Angel shows up. The bartender later tells her Angel is outside. When she steps out, the bartender, now possessed by the parasite, attacks her with a bottle. Thankfully, Angel arrives just in time to stop the parasitic demon from possessing Kate and forces it to stay in the bartender's body. Though weakened, the demon-possessed bartender retains enough strength to overpower Angel. After a struggle, he pushes both Angel and Kate into the basement and locks them inside. The demon then searches for a new host inside the club. In the next scene, Kate and Angel manage to escape the basement of Oblique and split up to search for the demon. Angel finds the bartender first, and another intense fight ensues. Despite sustaining injuries, our hero manages to push the demon into a nearby burn barrel. Although its body is engulfed in flames, it stumbles toward Angel, who is now too weak to fight back. Just before the demon reaches him, Kate returns and shoots it to death. One night, a scared woman named Rachel runs down a dark alley and looks for anyone chasing her. Suddenly, her boyfriend Lenny appears and threatens her with a gun, saying he can't take it anymore. Just as Lenny starts to pull the trigger, Angel shows up and disarms him effortlessly. With one hard punch, he knocks the guy unconscious. Meanwhile, on a nearby rooftop, a lone vampire named Spike watches the scene unfold. He chuckles to himself and warns Angel of his impending death. The following morning, Oz, an old friend, visits Angel and his friends at their apartment. After a short exchange of greetings, Oz hands over a ring, the Gem of Amara, to Angel. Doyle explains it's a powerful talisman that makes a vampire completely invincible. With it, any vampire could walk in the sunlight. While the others head to a pub, Angel stays behind to hide the ring under a loose brick in a sewer tunnel. The next day, Spike, who had been tailing Angel for a couple of days now, attacks him in the parking lot. The two vampires exchange brutal punches, but Angel soon gets the upper hand. When Cordelia and Doyle arrive to help, Spike feels outnumbered. He then delivers one last threat before storming off. Angel later tracks down Spike and corners him in an alley blocked by a chain fence. Spike appears concerned as he raises his hands and pretends to surrender. Suddenly, a man in a white shirt swings a heavy chain from behind. Within seconds, Angel is on the ground with the chain wrapped tightly around his neck and completely at Spike's mercy. Back at the office, Cordelia and Doyle grow worried because Angel hasn't checked in. Unbeknownst to them, the latter is chained and suspended from the ceiling in a large, dimly lit warehouse. Spike introduces Angel to his accomplice Marcus, a vampire renowned for his skills in torture and his disturbing appetite for harming children. Marcus starts by inspecting Angel and asking him what he wants. When Angel refuses to cooperate, he grabs a red-hot poker and drives it into Angel's abdomen. Spike grows impatient when Angel refuses to answer their questions. He then grabs a broken stake and threatens to kill him if he doesn't reveal the ring's location. Spike then visits Angel's apartment and warns Doyle and Cordelia that if they want their friend to survive, they must find the ring and hand it over before sundown. Worried, Cordelia and Doyle soon start searching for the gem of Amara. Doyle discreetly uses his demon senses to locate the ring hidden under a loose brick. Before sundown, they meet Spike at the arranged spot and demand to see Angel before handing over the ring. Spike grudgingly agrees and takes them to the warehouse, where Angel, now barely conscious, is being held. Spike reveals he never planned to honor the trade, but Doyle quickly throws the ring across the floor as a distraction. Just as the evil vampire dives for it, Oz crashes his van through the warehouse wall. He then holds Spike and his accomplice at bay with 2 crossbows, while Cordelia and Doyle get Angel into the van. Just as they speed away, Spike searches for the ring only to find it missing. Turns out, Marcus stole the ring for himself and fled the warehouse. Outside, we see him walking confidently into the sunlight with the power of the ring. Meanwhile, Doyle and Cordelia try to help Angel, but he insists on tracking Marcus. He knows he won't have gone far. The scene cuts to Marcus strolling along the boardwalk and eyeing a group of Cub Scouts near a vending cart. Suddenly, Oz speeds down the boardwalk, slamming into him with the van. Angel then leaps from the van, bursts into flames under the sunlight, and tackles the evil vampire off the pier. Under the boardwalk's shade, Angel and Marcus battle fiercely. Our hero impales Marcus on a beam, but the ring's power keeps him alive. Angel eventually rips the ring off Marcus's finger and kills him. He then puts the ring on and steps into the sunlight for the first time in centuries. Later, Angel and Doyle watch the sunset and enjoy the moment. However, to Doyle's disappointment, our hero decides not to keep the ring. He explains that while it seems like redemption, it might cause him to forget the people still living in darkness, who need him as their protector. Angel then smashes the gem of Amara with a brick. Doyle reluctantly respects his friend's decision, and together, they leave the rooftop as the sun sets on the horizon. The following morning, Doyle is hit by a sudden vision. He sees a woman named Melissa Burns. The scene shifts to Melissa's office. She receives a bouquet of flowers from Ronald, and it unsettles her so much that she excuses herself and takes some tranquilizer pills in the bathroom. She then leaves work soon after. When she arrives in the parking lot, she becomes startled to see a figure near her car. It's Angel, who awkwardly explains that he knows she's in trouble and wants to help. Melissa is unsure but takes his business card before leaving. Later, at an ATM, Melissa tries to access her account but finds it locked. Ronald suddenly appears out of nowhere and smugly tells her he changed her PIN. He speaks to her as though they're in a relationship, ignoring how creepy and controlling he's being. Ronald also mentions that he knows she took tranquilizer pills earlier, even though he shouldn't have any way of knowing. Frightened, Melissa decides to call Angel Investigations for help. When Melissa meets with the team, she explains that Dr. Ronald Meltzer is a famous neurosurgeon who once performed an operation on a nerve behind her left eye. She felt pressured to go on one date with him to show her gratitude, but he has been stalking her ever since. Melissa also shares that she often feels like Ronald is watching her, even when he's not around. She's especially disturbed because he somehow knew about her taking the tranquilizers. The Angel Investigations team agrees to help her and keep her safe. That night, as Melissa prepares for bed at home, Ronald sips a drink in his study room and stares at a framed photo of Melissa on his desk. When his face is shown, it's clear he has an empty socket where his right eye used to be. Back in Melissa's bedroom, a floating eyeball creepily watches her, following her every move. The next day, Angel visits Kate to ask if Melissa had ever reported Ronald. Kate confirms that Melissa did file a complaint, but Ronald's lawyers, Wolfram and Hart, countered aggressively. She then offers to have an officer keep watch on Melissa's home for a night or two, and Angel agrees. While Doyle escorts Melissa to work as a bodyguard, Angel breaks into Ronald's office to gather evidence. He discreetly steals a book from Ronald's bookshelf. When Ronald confronts him, Angel pretends to be a desperate husband looking for emergency eye surgery for his wife. Before leaving, Angel gives him a fake name and contact number. Later, Angel investigates the author of the book he stole, Anything's Possible by Vinpur Napudian. Angel emails Napudian and arranges a meeting. The author, a doctor, explains that Ronald attended retreats with renowned yogas and mastered advanced psychological and physical techniques, making him an expert in psychic surgery. That night, as Melissa sleeps, Ronald's severed hands crawl across her apartment floor and slip under her covers. Outside, the cop stationed to watch Melissa's building notices Ronald wandering nearby. When he confronts him, Ronald reveals that he has no hands and convinces the officer to back off. Moments later, Melissa screams from her apartment, prompting the cop to rush inside. He finds her seemingly alone and starts to relax. Suddenly, Ronald's detached hands attack him from behind and strangle him to death. Terrified, Melissa runs outside in a panic, but is stopped before reaching the street. Her fear eases slightly when she realizes it's Angel holding her. She breaks down and cries in his arms, unaware that Ronald is secretly watching them from the bushes. Angel then takes her to his apartment, where Doyle and Cordelia tape up vents and door gaps. Moments after, Cordelia answers a call from Ronald on the private line. Angel then poses as Mr. Jensen and talks to the doctor. Ronald demands $100,000 for the supposed surgery of Mr. Jensen's wife. Unaware that his cover has been exposed, Angel goes to meet Ronald with an empty safety deposit box instead of money. The doctor, sitting calmly, suddenly shoots Angel in the neck with a dart gun. He explains that the device was developed for handling wild animals, and that the dart contains a drug to stop the heart. Meanwhile, back at Angel's apartment, Cordelia and Doyle take care of Melissa, who finally feels calm enough to sleep. Despite all the duct tape sealing the apartment, Ronald finds a way in. He sends his eyeball to scout while one of his hands sneaks in to unlock the door. Once inside, Ronald pauses to reattach his eyes and hands. To distract Doyle, Ronald's left hand makes noise by shaking a sewer grate. When the noise suddenly stops, Doyle opens the grate to check, only to be pulled into the sewers by the hand. At the same time, Ronald grabs Cordelia and forces her into a closet. Melissa, now awake, watches as Ronald waits for his left hand to crawl back and reattach itself.